What is going on, guys? Jim and Vince here today. And today, guys, we are here for episode two. And episode two is going to consist of something I've talked about in the past on this channel. And you can see it right here. It is the Target 8 a.m. policy. And it is pretty tricky situation with this Target policy. And we're going to dive deep into it. And it's pretty much an 8 a.m. policy every Friday. But we're going to start out with some other stuff first. So today, Vince, do you know about the Target policy?
I do. I haven't bought any cards retail for a little while, but I have
Yeah.
seen signs up, to that effect. So I think I have a basic idea of how it goes, but I haven't experienced it.
Okay, so it is definitely a newer policy. It is definitely becoming enforced too, and we'll get into that in a minute as well. So today, we're going to obviously talk about the policy itself and what it is. We're going to do why it's being enforced so much. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of the policy. We're going to talk about Walmart and Target's differences with the policy because Walmart differs so much, Vince. So, and we'll obviously talk about will this madness ever end and will it restore back to normal. So let's talk about what the 8 a.m. policy is. Okay, so the 8 a.m. policy is a strict policy every Friday. I'm talking every Friday at 8 a.m. You can only buy Pokemon cards that are $20 and up on Friday. But Vince, did you know that when you go into Target on the weekdays, there is no cards even on the carts? They don't sell them. I heard people ask for just the packs, and a normal family, a kid and his mother, were asking for random packs, and they still will not sell them. Do you think this is a little crazy?
Well, it depends. I did know that that you can't find Pokemon cards the rest of the week, and that's been for at least a few months because I use Target's pharmacy, and occasionally I'll stop in, and it's hard not to stop and look at the trading cards, whenever you're in Target.
Yeah.
So I have noticed some barren shelves for a while, and just recently started to see the actual signage about the policies. It depends. So it depends. I hope we're going to look at why they've instituted these policies, and whether they're actually effective in solving the problems that they were originally intended to solve.
Yes. And the main thing there is scalpers and that loiter for hours. And we're gonna get into that definitely. So, like I said, it's a strict time frame where you can buy cards. And this is not just Pokemon, this is baseball, this is soccer. The only thing it's not enforced is Magic the Gathering. And let's see, Vince, why do you think it's not Magic the Gathering?
I mean, it seems like it's all supply and demand. I've never noticed a time when the shelves were completely empty of Magic cards. So, clearly it must be that either the market has gotten so crazy that everyone is buying up the Pokemon, or they've just been doing a good enough job printing enough Magic, but maybe there just hasn't been as much of a bump. It would be interesting to look at Google Trends and kind of see if Magic the Gathering has trended up similarly to Pokemon, and if it's to anywhere near as great of an extent.
Magic the Gathering it's in clear words, it's not profitable to people. So you're not going to see people standing in line for that stuff, which is you should be enjoying what you buy. You know what I mean? Not just profiting. People shouldn't be doing that. They should be buying the stuff and enjoying it. And since Magic isn't profitable to them and they can't, sell it to people, that's why Magic is still in the stores. So if you're a Magic collector, you're not dealing with any of this. So definitely keep that in mind. All right. So the limit for Target is very, very enforced. Did you know, Vince, that it's only one product of either a tin, an ETB, and a box, and maybe a pack? But I'm hearing from other Targets, from other friends, that it could be just one Pokemon item in general. And that could happen here soon, too. So can you imagine people standing outside all night waiting for one ETB? That's crazy. Am I right? That's just nuts. It's like Black Friday every Friday, right?
So I think there's some economics you'd have to look into. So how much is an ETB of the most recent set going for right now online on eBay?
About 80 to 100, maybe.
So say let's be pretty liberal with the prices. Let's say they're going for $100,
Okay.
and eBay is going to charge about 15%. So now we're down to $85,
Yep.
and then they're buying them for $40 retail at Target.
50. 50.
So we're down at $30 profit.
Yep.
Then we also have to look at they're paying sales tax. So that's another $3. So now we're at $27 profit. So at $27 profit, so let's see. So the minimum wage in Pennsylvania is $7.25 an hour. So if they're making a minimum wage, this could actually be a worthwhile endeavor if they're only spending an hour on it. But if they have a job that actually pays a living wage, then this seems like it would be kind of silly to wait that long for literally one item over $20.
Yes. And the crazy thing about that is, and then you mentioned the time frame of an hour. I know people who wait. I've heard stories that I've heard 12 a.m. the night before. So 12 a.m. into 8 a.m. is 8 hours. But I've heard even people in California tell me 5 p.m. on Thursday. It sounds like Black Friday every Friday, doesn't it?
So I have some experience waiting in lines. One year for record. Are you familiar with Record Store Day?
It sounds like something in like a town kind of thing, like where they do like a record thing and they sell records like that. Are you talking about that?
Yeah. So Record Store Day is a nationwide holiday where a bunch of independent record stores have exclusive releases of vinyl music records.
It's awesome.
And over in Princeton, New Jersey, at Princeton Record Exchange, which is a really awesome shop if you're into music, they
Awesome.
not a sponsor. They have they've done Record Store Day every year that I know of, and maybe 5 or 6 years back, my buddy Billy and we went and we camped out from, I think it was like 10 o'clock the night before until they opened at like 10 a.m. the next day. And we brought chairs and blankets, and it was cool because there were some really, really, really limited releases that I was able to get a copy of and have, my own copy of. So it wasn't so much just about flipping. It was more about getting the stuff you actually like. So it can be a lot. So it depends, I guess, how much something is actually worth to you.
Very, 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 very good points. And the thing about Pokemon, they're waiting for stuff that literally isn't limited too much. I mean, I've seen the ETBs floating around different places, but I think they're treating this like it's Hidden Fates every Friday, if you know what I mean. Like they're going for battle styles. But I do see some people. I know why a lot of people are staying out overnight, and I figured it out. They're selling sports cards. Listen to this one. This is crazy. They're buying, I think it's called Panini Prism and Selects. They're buying stuff like that. I always hear about that, and they're taking those $20 boxes and they're selling it for upwards of $150 online each. That's where I see why they're waiting. You see what I mean, Vince? That makes a lot more sense, because if you wait 10 hours overnight and you get a bunch of sports cards, and these guys are literally flipping like 10 of them total, they're making a lot of money. But that's where the scalper problem comes in again, because Target's trying to enforce this rule, but they're just trading in line with people. They're literally trying to ask you if you're getting Pokemon. So it's a big mess. But let's continue about it. So all right, so Panini Prism, in my opinion, is why people are waiting in line at 12 a.m. or 5 p.m. or 3 p.m. before whatever time they're waiting. That is a big indication why they're waiting. And Vince, the reason why is because of how they're selling them for $150 a piece, and they're paying $20, right, Vince? So
they're getting a box for $20 and selling it for $150.
Seen it. It's wrong.
So at that point, I mean, the economics work out where it's much more worthwhile to flip that than even Pokemon.
Yeah. See, like, I see people like going like, I want that Pokemon thing. Like, you understand, like, they're just gonna flip that. They're like, they don't even know what it is. But this is the next topic I want to bring up. Is there, like I said, there's one per person or one of each item. But the thing is, if you get in line and you're first and you get back in line, they give you 3 of each items after you get back in line. What is your take on getting 3 of each things? Do you think that's fair, or do you think it should just be 1 again? What do you think?
Fair is a really difficult term to try to define in this situation. If you've already made your initial purchase and you get back in line to buy additional products, but you're now at this point behind everyone who showed up at 8 a.m. So if I show up at 8 a.m. and there's a line of 100 people and I'm number 101,
Yeah.
you who've been there for, a number of hours are now the 101st customer or 102nd customer. So you're still behind me. So I still have had my opportunity to buy my one item.
Yeah.
So at that point, I guess it's kind of basically once the line's done, now we're back to normal numbers of, okay, you can buy 3 items.
Yeah.
So it seems logically like it makes sense to me. However, it could be frustrating, if, you show up first and then other people have gotten, 3 items. However, I imagine that Target's main purpose with all of this is to make it more difficult to get the cards and make it less likely that people will fight, that people will just show up constantly. They probably don't want people standing around a certain area.
Yes.
This is a drop in the bucket for Target. Target's revenue, I think it's got to be in the 40 billions or something like that. Target revenue 2020. Let's see. We'll see if we have 2020. Okay, revenue of Target in 2020 was $93 billion. Do they really care about the Pokemon trading card game market? I doubt it. I think it's helpful. Every dollar counts. But it's much more important for them to keep things orderly and calm and not prevent someone's mom from coming into the store. Because if one person decides, oh, you know what, I don't like going to Target. There's all these punks standing around or dirty people trying to buy Pokemon cards. I mean, that's much worse for them. That woman might buy a television. She might buy, just household products. She might make it her normal place to buy groceries if she is also grabbing, prescriptions there every week or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's much, much more important for them to keep their core business customers than it is for them to keep Pokemon card customers happy, in my opinion.
Yes, and what you pretty much are saying is it kind of hurts Target's image. Like, it's not about the Pokemon; it's about like the people coming in for the groceries, people coming in for the TVs. They're not going to come back if they see people loitering around and fighting. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's perfect example. Because
are you familiar with how they do like loss prevention and things like that?
No, you can tell me. Explain to me. I'm confused.
A lot of times at Target, if they see someone shoplifting, 1 or 2 items, from what I've read online, their policies are to just let the person walk out if it's, under $100 or it seems like it's a couple items. Because one, they have it on camera. If the person comes back, it can be flagged. They have a lot of tools to analyze the video and such. And if the person is a repeat offender, they can build an actual case against them where it's no longer just a misdemeanor, it's a felony.
Yeah, makes sense.
Once it becomes that felony level. The other thing is, you and I are not likely to be as observant of someone stealing items. Someone walks in and puts a shirt under their shirt. You and I probably aren't going to notice it. However, their loss prevention people will. On the flip side, if that person gets tackled over that blouse, you and I are going to notice. We're going to stop in our tracks. We're going to look toward the exit and we're going to say, look, they're tackling that dude. It brings a lot more attention to the criminal and to the fact that there's crime in this particular location to interfere than it does to just allow it to happen and write it off as a loss. So
it makes perfect sense, Vince. They pretty much don't want people like getting tackled by the employee because it will show like a bad image. Again, bad image for Target, and Target it'll create that like chaotic zone where people don't want to come back. So they do it.
Right.
They do it like silently later to get you. Pretty much, it makes sense.
Exactly. There's also a lot more liability of having employees put themselves into those dangerous situations. Police officers are, hopefully trained to deal with those kinds of situations. Whereas, someone making minimum wage or 15 an hour or whatever at that Target is not trained in negotiating with criminals and putting that situation out, that fire out.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So I
So
think it's a big parallel to this exact situation. All they care about is trying to keep things calm and keep the image good.
that was perfect, man. I couldn't have said it better myself. That loss prevention thing is very smart for sure. All right, so Vince, did you know? I think I said this a little earlier that you can't even get like packs. Like that's crazy. Even during the week, they used to have it where it was 20 and up. But now it's just like you go in the store, it's empty. So that brings me up to the next thing. So that is what Target's 8 a.m. policy is. Let's go deeper into it now. So let's talk about why it's being enforced so much. So Vince, the biggest thing why it's being enforced is you said it yourself, people are loitering around the store all day and it's creating a chaotic zone for people that are shopping for TVs and stuff. And they're actually harassing the vendors. They're actually harassing the vendors. So the vendors are not even present in most Targets. They're actually having the store hold the stuff in the back in customer service, which is very smart. Don't you agree? It's like an ice cream truck with Pokemon cards at this point. It makes perfect sense. That way, it's less chaotic. So, what is your take on Target having their stuff behind the counter and not on the shelves?
So, from a business standpoint, if it creates less drama, less fighting, less issues within the store, then I think it makes sense. However, just from a consumer standpoint, that additional friction of having to go speak to someone at customer service, it can be a lot. Even someone as outgoing as I am, social situations like that, if I could just avoid them, I'm much more likely to avoid them. I'll try to order pizza on Domino's instead of, calling them. I'll do it on the website.
Same.
If I know I have to go to the customer service stand, it's going to make me less likely to buy the products. Similarly, in order to get a refilled canister of CO2 for the soda stream, you have to go to Target's customer service and ask them for it. And then it's easy, it's painless. However, I had my soda stream for about a year and actually just ordered 2 additional canisters. And then it took about a year until I wound up going to Target and doing the exchange, just because it was that additional friction and that additional social interaction, which I don't know, sometimes I don't feel like doing. It's sometimes I'm not in that mood. So some people, that stuff's easy for them. They have no problem. They're chatting in line, but I'm just not in that boat. So it's frustrating as a consumer, and I think it might drive more people to just try to buy things online.
Definitely.
However, it's hard to buy things online when there's scripts and bots snatching stuff up as soon as it gets posted.
I hate that. I hate those bots, man. They're so bad. Oh, dude. Yes, and you're perfectly right. It kind of is good for social people to do that, interact with Target and get to know people there, which probably happens. It creates a problem for people who don't want to chat with people, you're saying, right? So, like, if you don't want to chat with customer service, you're just going to skip it and it's going to drive people away. But at the same time, it's very, very smart Target's doing this because you literally can see the limit. For example, if I want to buy an ETB of Shining Fates, they're going to see it, and that's your limit. They're actually looking, some people are looking at IDs to make sure they don't come back. Now, here's the thing. I know why they're doing it behind the counter. Then it's the biggest reason why they're not doing this on the shelves with the limit. You know why?
Fights. Someone tries to put an item in their cart, and then someone else says, no, I was putting that in my cart, and then it causes a big issue. If you're individually dealing with person one by one, that would be my guess. But if you have a different reason that you know of, I'm all ears.
I think I know the perfect reason for it. I think it has to do with self-checkout. Self-checkout, you can just scan anything and anything and anything. Even if it says it's a limit of 3, you can just redo it again and again. That's probably why they're putting it behind there. Does that make sense?
It does. Also, if you have limits on products, you then have to disseminate that policy to every particular employee who would be running even the manual checkouts. those manned checkout lanes, the chances that that person, once again, we're back to these entry level jobs. The person making that minimum wage, running that checkout lane, does not feel like starting an argument with some person who's there to buy tons of Pokemon cards, if they even remember the policy. I mean, how many times have you had issues in various stores where there's a promotion going on, or there's some new policy in effect, or they have some particular, something going on, and the clerks don't know about it? They're not aware of it. Have you run into that situation before, Jim?
Yes, I was buying Vivid Voltage packs at Target, and I had a bunch of packs in my hand. This was like a couple months ago, and I asked, "Is there a limit?" And they said no. Then when I got to the front, I had all these packs. The guy said there was a limit, and then I got to self checkout, or not to self checkout. I got to the line, and there wasn't a limit. Target, when there needs to be a policy. Even Nicole said you need to post a policy on that slab. You know what I mean, like on the shelf, because seriously, this makes no sense not to have a policy in that store, but then trying to enforce like two different rules, one per customer, then they said three per customer, then they said it was unlimited. Like, obviously that creates a problem. You know what I mean, Vince? That creates a huge issue with the policy. But
well, in my experience, I collect Lego, so like I've got some cool Lego sets, and there's some over on that shelf over there too. Awesome. And oftentimes Target will have little giveaways. They call it poly bags, little plastic baggies, with the little, small builds. So they'll give that for free. Or there'll be a thing where there's a gift card or something like that. And many times it's been where I'm at the checkout and I've spent my $50 in Lego or whatnot, and I get the free reindeer or whatnot. And the person running that checkout lane, they have no idea about this promotion, so I have to either show them a picture of it or tell them, and then they call the manager, and the manager goes, "Oh yeah, I think lane 8 has some of them stashed below the thing." And they go over to lane 8, and someone's running that, so they have to go and dig in there. "Oh, here you go." One more point to drive it home. I've worked with some companies who are in the recycling sphere, and one of the promotions we ran was with Timberland. So Timberland has, I think, at that point, 80 or so retail stores. So they have a somewhat big footprint in the industry.
Yeah.
And we were running a recycling campaign where people were able to bring back shoes. They were collected and then recycled. And I helped build that campaign and built the website and helped design everything. And I was at the King of Prussia Mall, and I was like, "Oh, hey, there's a Timberland store in here. I might as well go in and see how things are going and take a peek." Like the literature they had to give out, they didn't have any copies of that at all anywhere. The people weren't really familiar with the program much at all. And the bin for the collection was like kind of shoved underneath a desk over in the corner of the store. So yeah. I think there's a huge hurdle in getting that information from marketing or from management all the way down to the individual consumer level. So I think that customer service route means the 8 people who might possibly be running customer service are the only ones who need to know about the policy. And I think, to your point about the limit per person, there might not even be a way to code that into the POS where you can actually, make it so that items of that particular brand are limited to a number per person as well. So
that makes perfect sense, because that's 110% why they're putting it behind customer service. So they see what you walk out with. They scan your item. They have your ID mostly. So that makes perfect sense. And another thing, to go back to the coupon thing you were saying about the Legos, that's awesome, by the way.
The Lego sets. Lego, don't pluralize Lego. Lego is a brand of interlocking bricks.
Yeah. Speaking of Lego, I love Lego Dimensions on, what is that game called?
Oh yeah, it was Lego Dimensions. Yeah. There was
Simpsons,
Harry Potter, and all those different properties.
It's awesome.
Hold on a second.
E.T. and Ghostbusters. You know which one I like the most? Like, that I haven't even opened yet? The Goonies and the Simpsons. Like, Vince, you know me pretty well. You know I can do Simpsons voices, so I might as well have the Simpsons Lego Dimensions, right?
Oh yeah, the game was a lot of fun. The just the cool licensed minifigs were awesome too, and there was a point where they were being blown out for ridiculously low prices. And a lot of my Legos I have, see there, I pluralized it myself. It's hard not to, especially when you've been doing it since you were like 8. But a lot of the Lego sets I have are sealed for collection, and I'll buy one that I open and build, and buy another that I keep. So there's some really cool collecting crossover in Lego as well as Pokemon.
That's awesome. Because back to that coupon thing you were telling me, like they used to have a coupon thing every other week or some weeks where it was like 10% off toys, have like a Monopoly picture, and it would be like or 25% off one toy or 15% off the three items.
And Lego was always excluded, wasn't it?
But guess what? Pokemon wasn't. Pokemon was never excluded. Today, though, they just scrapped it. They don't even treat Pokemon as a toy anymore. They treat it as like a high profile item at this point. Does that make sense? They don't even give you there's no discounts. You pay for it on that Friday at 8 a.m. No, even if you have coupons, it will not work. Isn't that crazy? I mean, from my experience, I think it's probably um, been taken away because of how abused it's been. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's really interesting. It might have flown under the radar because there's not that huge of a margin on Pokemon, but they might have allowed it to kind of fly under the radar for such a long time.
All right, so Vince, let's go to the next topic of this topic we're talking about. Pros and cons of Target's new policy. Do you want me to show you my pros and my cons, and then you can tell me yours?
Sure.
So, the pros to the Target 8 a.m. rule on Friday. A big pro is more product to be given to collectors and kids and families and just to get product in general. That's a huge pro. Another pro would be it keeps Target less of a hassle and the scalpers are not loitering or just people in general are not loitering for thing. And it keeps Target, like you said, a more better image for their company. Another pro is you can find sets like Shining Fates and Hidden Fates weekly. Only one day, obviously, on the Friday at 8 a.m. And that is awesome because Hidden Fates is literally like $80 a tin sometimes on eBay. So people to get a 20 a tin, even to get one, it's good. And it creates a really good, way of people getting cards and stuff. The cons, however, they outweigh the pros. It's like a double-edged sword at this point. Scalpers are everywhere. They're everywhere from 5 p.m. the night before to midnight to the next day. They could be eating, like I said last time, Lunchables. They could be camping out with a tent. They could be watching a football game somehow. They could be, I don't know, looking prices up. We don't know. But they are creating a huge hurdle for real collectors and real, people trying to buy Pokemon cards. And built upon that reason is people see this line at 8 a.m. They're like, just regular people trying to go to the store. And they're like, why can't I get in the store? And then people are just like, get out of the line. It's for cards. Like, that creates like bad image again, like we were saying before. Another con is Fridays are going to be the most chaotic day at Target. So Black Friday at Target could be similar with Pokemon cards at this point. And the last thing is the fights, the arguments are still present. I haven't seen any fights. I've heard about them. I've seen yelling though. I've seen arguments. I've seen escalated situations like that over a freaking Hidden Fates ETB. No, so Hidden Fates 10, I'm sorry. Can you imagine if it was a Hidden Fates ETB? It's just chaotic. So there's my pros and cons. I know they're kind of a double-edged sword. So what is your take on it, Vince, for pros and cons?
So I think it's interesting that you were saying about letting people get back in line, because that means that if you show up at 8 a.m. after the line's done, you can just hop in line if you're an actual consumer and just get 3 items, as opposed to the people who wait the whole time getting one. I think that kind of I think that's more likely to help their end goal, which is not having people line up. No one wants people lined up out front of their store when it's not their main thing. If you're GameStop and people are lining up for a midnight release, you want to encourage that enthusiasm and that hype, and that clientele reflects your core business. Whereas, like we said earlier, this clientele is not their core business. So I think that's one thing. Um, I think it's helpful to know when you'll be able to get cards, as opposed to burning the extra gas, driving to the store every day and taking a look. It like we had said before, is safer for the vendors because they're not getting stalked essentially. Um, it's probably good for Nabisco or whoever makes Lunchables.
Man,
um,
I wish I could have a Lunchable right now.
uh, but
It, it, it's a double edged
it's
sword.
it doesn't seem like the purpose is to get cards into fans and collectors' hands. I think the main purpose is just to try to calm things down at their
Yeah.
stores. So, which, I mean, how can you blame them? But it doesn't really solve any issues for the collectors not being able to get cards.
Yes. The perfect add on to this. Yes. It's like a double edged sword. Am I right? It really is, because you still have chaotic situations when there's one Hidden Fates tin left and someone's behind you going, "Yo, I want the Hidden Fates tin," and then it just becomes an argument. I mean, it's never gonna. It's like it's hard to say which is better, the pros or the cons, but at least you can, like you said, the consumer can go back in line and get as many things as they want after scalpers took their baseball and ran. Does that make sense?
So I have a
Go ahead.
question. If you were CEO of Target, or even just the manager of the local
Mm-hmm.
Target, um, what ideas would you be able to come up with to solve the issue and get Pokemon cards into the hands of actual fans and keep them out of the scalpers or flippers' hands?
So definitely, I like what they're doing with the customer service avenue, but I also think that they should have like more of, instead of one per person the first time around, maybe for baseball and stuff should be, I don't know, maybe baseball and sports should be more limited, and the Pokemon should maybe have one of each product. Maybe that's why it's at my store. But I think one thing I would do if I was CEO of Target, I would definitely have not let anybody stay overnight. I would have security overnight watching the store, like not having people loiter at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. But they're actually fixing that problem. I heard from a couple people that they're banning people, like literally like, get you out of there if you stay out overnight. If you are not there by 6 a.m., if you're there at 5:59, I think it is, anything before that, you're going to get banned and you can't go in that day. Or even it could turn into like an offense thing where you get permanently banned. So that is smart. I also think that Friday's chaotic. I think they chose Friday because it's a weekend, but I think Saturday would have been better for like people that didn't have to get off work to do it. I guess the people that work that day and stuff. Friday is a work day for people, and that probably isn't a great idea. So Saturday would make more sense. But at the same time, it's working, and it's a very confusing situation. Does that make sense, Vince? It definitely, I definitely would enforce it more than just having, some. But it's different every store. It really is different in every store, and that is why it's hard to see if to say if if I have policies that would differ from other people. Does that make sense?
It does.
So let's talk about Walmart and Target. We're not going to go too deep into Walmart because it's literally walk in, buy the cards, leave. Walk in, buy the cards, leave. No rules, nothing. So Walmart is different from Target. There's no limits, and it creates more of a struggle because you can't get cards. There's probably fist fights over the stuff, and the vendors are being stalked, and it's just bad. And also, in Walmart, the vendors are there. Target is much more about keeping their image. Walmart probably does not care as much. Does that make sense, Vince?
It does make a lot of sense. Maybe part of the reason is, if I asked you to rank Kmart, Walmart, and Target in terms of pure cleanliness, which one's going to be at the top of that list?
Target,
And then,
Kmart,
and then,
Walmart.
so I absolutely would keep Target at the top as well. I probably would almost switch Kmart and Walmart, because Kmart, it just seemed like was always going downhill, always a mess. But the pure fact of the matter is, you in your head associate, okay, which one has the cheapest prices of between Target and Walmart
Walmart.
in general?
Walmart.
There you go.
Roll back.
Exactly. You think of okay, and which one are you more likely to get mugged in?
Walmart.
Yeah. So Walmart always feels a little dirtier, a little less safe, a little more chaotic, and just a little, people seem to hate their job just a little bit more at the Walmart than at the Target. And and the prices just always seem like they're a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, it's
so it seems like maybe they don't care as much. Also Walmarts in the past have always been more likely to be 24 hours than Targets are.
Yes.
So maybe they don't care as much about the aesthetics of the confusion and the frustration and the arguments in those aisles as a company like Target does. They're worried about those optics, whereas Walmart, back to what you said, doesn't care. They don't care about the experience as much. They're not famed on their experience. Target recently has been coming out with all kinds of different house brands, which seem like specialty consumer brands. They have brands of clothing and brands of food and brands of house goods and all of that. Walmart has always had Equate and some other store brands like Great Value, but they've never they've never tried to branch them out. They've always made them look like a generic product, as opposed to Target, which is trying to make them seem like specialty products or specialty alternatives to something you would find at Whole Foods. And the same is clear in the redesigns of their stores recently. They've been renovating their stores to have like a little cafe, as opposed to like Walmart, which often has a Subway or a McDonald's, or used to have the popcorn in there. So I think it just all goes back to aesthetics and optics, and Walmart is okay with people having a frustrating time getting a good deal, whereas Target doesn't want that friction and that frustration to exist in the consumer's mind.
Very valid points, and I think Walmart also has more money. It's one of the biggest companies besides Amazon, right? Do you have any stats you can show between Target and Walmart's,
I do. So let's see. It's all right. So pull up here 2020 fiscal Walmart revenue. So to recap, earlier we said that Target had revenue of about $93 billion. So they had $93 billion in sales. I'd like you to take a random guess of how many billion dollars Walmart had coming in 2020.
98.
$559 billion in sales.
Okay, that is crazy.
6 times. Walmart grossed 6 times.
6 times as much as Target? So Walmart is pretty much on Amazon's level. Well, nearly.
Well, yeah, Amazon revenue 2020. Just by quarter. So let's see. Quarter 4 of 2020, 125 billion, 96 billion the 3 months before that. So just by that, you can see it's absolutely
a monster.
It absolutely destroys Target, but they're still not doing as many net sales as Walmart.
Wow.
And the other thing is, as far as Amazon goes, Amazon revenue by segment. So as far as their revenue goes over at Amazon, do you think most of it comes from selling stuff on the website?
It sounds like it, but I think there's something in there. It's probably more of like, maybe there's, is it just selling stuff online, or is there more like revenue coming there? How's that work?
So the biggest portion of their largest source of revenue is the actual online stuff the physical stores. However, their biggest source of profits is AWS, or Amazon Web Services.
Yeah, makes sense.
AWS only brings in 12% of all of their money, So AWS, do you know what that is or what they do with that?
No, Vince, definitely explain more what AWS is. I never heard of it.
So AWS is the hosting and the computing power behind a large portion of the internet. There's a very high chance that this Discord conversation we're having right now is actually going through AWS, the backbone of it. Between 3 and 50% of the internet relies on Amazon, depending on how you measure it.
Wow.
So AWS hosts almost 5% of all websites. Now there's billions of websites, but if you just look at the sheer percentage of total .coms or .orgs or .nets that they host, it might be a somewhat small percent. However, they are running some of the biggest websites. So I don't know if Netflix has all their own servers yet, but like someone like Peacock, there's a good chance is running it all through AWS or through Amazon somehow. So they're making way more money off of this tech sector stuff than they even are from their online sales.
So they're pretty much kind of like a third party that runs everything, right? Okay.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Like on my website where I sell the Pokemon cards, I have a company I work with called Big Commerce. So they are the ones that provide the platform and provide the web service. And it might still also run through AWS. So they're kind of behind the scenes of all this, and it's kind of a scary thing when you think about it, how big they are and how in control they are of the entire internet.
I never even knew about AWS. I thought you said AWA at first. I'm like, we're talking about root beer? No, I'm just joking. No, you know what I'm talking about, right? A&W, whatever it's called.
MDMA.
DMA.
Oh no, that's a different thing.
All right, so let's continue to back on track with the Pokemon. So, when will this madness end, Vince? When will this madness end? We can make a video talking about this, but can you just summarize real quick into this video?
So when Elon Musk decides to tweet that Pokemon is lame and you guys are all lame-os for liking Pokemon, and then everyone's like, oh man, I don't want to have Pokemon if Daddy Elon thinks it's lame.
So it's trendy. Because you're saying it.
I don't know. I think the madness ends when the prices start to flatline and drop. I know on another podcast we want to talk about, is this a bubble?
Yes.
I think it might be a bubble.
Yes, and to elaborate on the bubble thing real quick, I think, just to summarize in this video right here, I think like the prices of the cards will stay high, like Charizards and Umbreons and Hidden Fates, but I think like the mid-range cards will just dip. And I think the prices, even when I first started collecting, Umbreon was still around 75 and it was fairly new. So say Suicune from Shining Fates is at $50 right now. I think next year, even if it dies down a little bit, I think Suicune will still hold its value considering it's a Gen 2 Pokemon. But I think cards like, sets like, give me a set, like Steam Siege and Fates Collide and all that stuff, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell if prices will dip, stay the same. Now, obviously not going to go higher, but like I said, when I first met you, Vince,
they could.
Yeah, it is possible.
They could. I mean, I'm holding my Dogecoin.
Like when I first met you, Lost Thunder, Celestial Storm, and Evolutions were $100 a box. Okay, that's incredible compared to now. But you also got to think that these sets are becoming more rare. So Evolutions is a base set, kind of like a copy in a way. It brings back the base set feel, and I think that's one set and team up. But we're going to talk about some on a different podcast, so we can talk about a lot more. But I think the bubble can go either way. Do you agree? It can get popped, or it can stay like Bubble Boy, right? So the madness will end when people stop buying Pokemon cards and inflated prices. When you see someone buying a tin of hidden fates at $70 a pop, that creates more and more of a problem. Am I right or wrong? That is not good. That's why you don't want to have consumers paying so much money for a product that's over 5 times as much, because it's just going to make the price go higher and higher, and the demand's going to be higher, but the supply is going to be much lower, like you said. So,
right.
Am I correct?
So it is supply and demand. So that's the thing. The ways to solve this right now are Pokemon Company prints more, or they don't. So there's a double-edged sword to printing more of a set.
Yes.
If you print more of the set, people will get frustrated and angry because the price goes down and they've invested a lot of money into that set. And
Yes.
they might even leave the entire hobby entirely. But it will bring the prices down so that more people can get into it and actually, start to collect that set. So, the problem is, who are they going to cater to? Are they going to cater to people trying to play the game? Because at that point, the cards should be as cheap as possible. It should be easy to build whatever deck you want in order to actually compete at a high level.
Yes.
Or are they going to cater to, the passive players who, want to have some cards, but, also, are trying to do it for collection and to, make a little bit of money? Or are they going to leave things as it is right now and just let the prices stay out of control so that people are just flipping stuff for massive, massive profits?
In my opinion, I would take option B because I think you need to have some sort of value to your cards if you're buying them. But I also think the card game should be, a number one thing as well. But I think option C is just crazy at this point. But we are living in a scalper's paradise, aren't we, Vince? And I can make a song out of that. No, I'm sure. But seriously, well, I pick option B. What would you pick? Same.
Um, I would increase production of future sets in line with demand, or at least sets that are still within the rotation.
Yeah.
And I would allow older sets to just be done. They're out of print, they're done. I don't think that there should be more Hidden Fates printed.
Yes.
I don't think there should be more Shining Legends printed.
Yes.
I don't think that that it makes sense when there's sets that are still current. Those are the ones that you should keep trying to print. So
very, very good point, because sets like Evolutions, Team Up, Lost Thunder, they should not drop to $100 a box. They are, like you said, a collector's item at that point. They should be more money. But sets like, let's talk about this, Battle Styles, and should not be $200 almost. Now, Vivid Voltage.
Well, I don't think that the price is entirely based on supply and demand.
Okay.
I mean, it is, but I don't think the demand is based. So I think that the prices are inflated.
Yeah.
I don't think that it will drop to $100 a box for something like Evolutions, but what is the inherent value of a pack of Pokemon cards? Like, what is the intrinsic value of it?
$4. 4?
Yeah, maybe less.
Yeah, but
it's some cardboard.
But Evolutions,
I love them.
Yeah, but Evolutions though is kind of rare at this point. I don't think it's going to turn back. It might not be 1,000, but it might be like 600 to 500, not 1,100. It might drop in half. But I don't. Right. But I think in 10 years from now, it's going to be even more than now. Does that make sense?
I think so. I think this is another topic that I would like to discuss and think about sometime. Like, for instance, music. Right now, a Modest Mouse record might be worth, depending on if it's in print or not, $20 or $15 or $100.
Yeah.
However, 30 years from now, or 40 years from now, when the people who've listened to Modest Mouse a lot are just not really caring anymore, or worse, dead, who's going to buy it? People are still going to buy old Beatles records for astounding amounts of money.
Of course.
I think people are always going to want that Charizard card. And I think Pokemon's in a unique position where it doesn't have a particular person. The band can't break up. The show can't get canceled. The games aren't just going to be stopped being made.
Yes.
So it's got such a crazy lasting power that, you could collect. GMM, Rhett and Link, Good Mythical Morning, they've been putting out some collectible items like these bobbleheads. And there's some cool collector's value to them right now. However, with the speed at which, YouTube fame and stardom could die out, I don't imagine that people will really want to collect those 20 years from now. Whereas within the next 5 years, I think the price of them will probably go pretty high.
Yeah.
I have some Star Wars VHS tapes.
Ooh.
I think those are always going to have some value to them, because Star Wars is kind of more of an enduring thing. Whereas, I think Pokemon will continue as well. But, if we do get to a point where kids stop being interested in Pokemon, then the value definitely goes to the floor. It's done.
Yeah, and with sports cards, it's about the team player, who's the top player. Like, that's where the value comes in. Like, who's doing good in the season. So say like let's say I don't follow sports at all, but say like Aaron Rodgers from the Green Bay Packers. Like, say he's not as good as he was, which makes no sense at all. That card will drop. Does that make sense? But Pokemon has its lasting power because it has such a brand name. It has Charizard, Pikachu, Gengar, Gyarados, Lugia, Ho-Oh, and many more. And those Pokemon are household names. Some of them even becoming more than back in the 90s. It's such a big trend. Pokemon's been going strong since the 90s. It had its dip in the early 2000s. That's why Aquapolis and stuff like that is so sought after right now, because it was never really... It was kind of on the silent mode at that point. But a big thing, I think, why Pokemon got bigger is because of Pokemon Go. And that is still going strong. And that is pretty much why I think Pokemon's madness, in conclusion, will not end. But I hope the madness with the scalping and stuff ends. So that's why I chose option B for that. But so, Vince, in conclusion, we have had so many valid and awesome points in this podcast. Let's conclude what this whole podcast is about. So, in my theory, Target has its limit. It's at 8 a.m. It's on a Friday. You cannot get more than one item at a time unless it's a different score's discretion. But here's the thing. You can get back in line and get 3 of each item if you've already waited since the morning and got behind other people. Also, keep in mind that Walmart and Targets are very different from each other, where Walmart's more of not caring about its product being sold to whoever, as long as they make their money, where Target wants to keep a better image. And then you have the pros and cons from Target's policy, which we discussed. We talked about why it's been enforced so much. We also talked about some subtopics, which we want to talk about in other videos, like the bubble. We talked about different prices and on different sets. We talked about so much today, Vince, and I've had a blast today with episode 2. And do you want to conclude anything, Vince? Because this has been an awesome podcast for episode 2. What do you guys say?
I really enjoyed this. It's fun to have a nice conversation. I apologize to anyone watching this if they felt that they would have appreciated to have a more linear narrative that took you through the entire concepts.
Yeah.
But I feel that even though on the surface it might not seem that all of these different topics go together and mesh perfectly, I think there is a thread that kind of runs through all of them and keeps them somewhat related. So I did really enjoy this format, and let us know in the comments if you are cool with this more free-form style, or if next time you want us to actually solve the problem and try to really come up with solutions better and have more of a 5-paragraph essay, beginning, middle, and end. But I think it can be nice to just have a somewhat of a discussion about something that you love, which is Pokemon.
It's a Pokemon Declaration of Independence, guys, right?
So one thing I always, of course, shameless self-promotion, a little bit of an update on retreatcost.com.
Awesome.
We're planning on maybe not the day that this comes out, but the following week, starting on Wednesdays, we'll be posting new product, or at least, product we've found maybe in the warehouse. We're going to try to keep the prices, in line where they should be.
Awesome.
And we're also setting up a mailing list, which maybe we'll be able to throw a link in the description if you wanted to get signed up to get those alerts about when new products coming out. and maybe a little bit of a preview and
Awesome.
kind of a reminder. So that's the deets on that, and
That's awesome.
I'm happy to be finally putting some more time into getting more product up there. It's been hard lately because I've got a little 3-month-old baby,
I know.
she's perfect. I love
She's
her
so
so
adorable.
much.
She's so adorable, man.
Oh yeah, and she happens to have the same name as one of the members of the Elite Four from Kanto. So take your guess. But yeah, let us know what you think. Any comments, questions, complaints, suggestions, and we're all ears.
So Vince, yeah, obviously we are sponsored by retreatcost.com. Thank you so much, Vince, for all that. You're amazing. And if you guys definitely check out retreatcost.com because it has awesome Pokemon product. It has so much, and Vince is telling you guys that it's coming next Wednesday with more of a streamlined service, but more like a streamlined, of more Pokemon stuff. Like it's gonna be more active. You're saying, right, Vince?
Yeah, we're still gonna have limits.
Good.
A la target of quantity, but but we want to try to we want to get cards into collectors' hands.
Yes, and that is perfect. So guys, we bring a blast from the past as we travel back to basics. The podcast of what?
The Back to Base Set podcast.